The Victorian era, spanning the reign of Queen Victoria from 1837 to 1901, was a time of immense change and contradiction. It was an era of unprecedented industrial and economic growth, marked by scientific discoveries and technological advancements that reshaped the world. Britain, at the heart of this whirlwind of progress, witnessed the rise of sprawling factories, bustling cities, and a complex social fabric. This period of rapid transformation, however, was not without its shadows. Beneath the veneer of progress lay stark inequalities that divided Victorian society into distinct classes, each experiencing the era's triumphs and tribulations in vastly different ways. The Victorian Age was a time of great expectations and harsh realities. While the upper classes reveled in opulence and celebrated the empire's expansion, the working class toiled in factories and mines, their lives often marred by poverty, disease, and hardship. The stark contrast between these two worlds painted a complex picture of Victorian society, one that continues to fascinate and provoke reflection even today. As we delve into the intricacies of Victorian life, we will uncover the stories of both the privileged few and the struggling masses, revealing the deep social and economic divides that shaped this era of dramatic change. Victorian England was rigidly stratified, with class distinctions deeply ingrained in the social fabric. At the apex of this hierarchy stood the aristocracy and landed gentry, their wealth inherited through generations and their lives defined by leisure, luxury, and political influence. Below them, a burgeoning middle class emerged, fueled by the engine of industrial growth. Composed of factory owners, merchants, and professionals, this aspiring class sought to emulate the lifestyle of their social superiors, embracing Victorian values of respectability, morality, and social mobility. However, the vast majority of the population belonged to the working class, their lives a world apart from the comfort and privilege enjoyed by the upper echelons. Factory workers, miners, domestic servants, and laborers formed the backbone of the Victorian economy, their toil fueling the nation's prosperity, while they themselves struggled to make ends meet. The boundaries between these classes were firmly drawn, reinforced by social customs, education, and even laws. Opportunities for social mobility were limited, and for many, their station in life was determined from birth. The Industrial Revolution, the driving force behind Victorian England's transformation, brought about unprecedented progress, but also exacerbated existing social and economic disparities. The invention of new technologies, such as the steam engine and the power loom, led to mass production, increased efficiency, and the rise of factories. While these advancements fueled economic growth and created new industries, they also led to the displacement of skilled artisans and the exploitation of factory workers, many of whom were women and children forced to work long hours in dangerous conditions for meager wages. The rapid urbanization that accompanied industrialization further exposed the stark inequalities of Victorian society. As people flocked to cities in search of work, overcrowded slums emerged, lacking basic sanitation and hygiene, becoming breeding grounds for disease and social unrest. The immense wealth generated by industrialization flowed primarily to the upper and emerging middle classes, further widening the gap between the rich and the poor. The Victorian era, despite its progress, became a testament to the uneven distribution of wealth and opportunity. The chasm between the rich and poor in Victorian England was perhaps most evident in their living conditions. The wealthy elite resided in opulent mansions, adorned with lavish furnishings, surrounded by sprawling gardens, and waited upon by a retinue of servants. Their lives were a testament to extravagance and leisure, filled with social gatherings, balls, and elaborate dinners. In stark contrast, the working class resided in overcrowded slums, characterized by cramped living quarters, inadequate sanitation, and rampant disease. Families often lived in single rooms, sharing communal facilities with multiple households. The lack of proper sanitation and ventilation, coupled with malnutrition and unsafe working conditions, made the urban poor susceptible to diseases like cholera, typhoid, and tuberculosis, which ravaged these communities. Infant mortality rates were alarmingly high, and life expectancy for the working class was significantly lower than that of their wealthy counterparts. The stark contrast between the luxurious lives of the privileged few and the squalid conditions endured by the masses painted a vivid picture of the deep inequalities that defined Victorian England.